This is Brad A. Milford with the Unlimited Business Wisdom Podcast, where leaders, seasoned entrepreneurs, and business owners share their wisdom. It's straight to the point to respect people's time, and because we know knowledge and wisdom turn to business possibility, and possibility mixed with support and action become reality. In this podcast, we discuss leadership, sales, marketing, operations, team development, quality, and finance to drive sustainable results and everlasting impact to make the world a better place. Thanks for joining us. Hey, Eric, glad to have you. Welcome to the Unlimited Business Wisdom Podcast.
Thanks for having me on, Brad. I really appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure to have you. I'm excited to have this conversation with you. Energized. We're all pumped up. We've been having a great conversation before this. Now we're just leading right in. Eric, would you be willing to share with the guests, people watching and listening, a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. Well, my history is as a real estate developer. I've spent almost 40 years in the real estate industry developing projects and commercial, residential, all type. And I also taught at the university, taught real estate here at Colorado State University for 20 years. And the last 30 years or so, I've been delving in mindfulness. And recently, the last 10, 12 years, I've been working together mindfulness and business. And we have just a great company here, LC Real Estate Group. And we started a nonprofit, livinginthegap.org, in which we really promote mindfulness in the business community. And I'm here to share it today.
A noble, worthy, and needed cause. Yeah. One that I absolutely love. Powerful stuff. So hang with us. We're not going to go woo, woo, woo. We're going to talk business, but we're going to talk about minding the gap in between those things and how, and maybe closing that gap by the time we're done. Yes, Eric?
We'll try.
I love it. Now, this is a cause that's dear to my heart as well. So I'm excited to dive in. Before we go a little bit deeper, Eric, would you be willing to share what's your favorite thing? What's the best thing? What's the most awesome thing about being in business? You've got a lot to share there.
It's relationships. The relationships you get. I mean, relationships can be hell or they can be the most beautiful thing in the world. And I've found over the years, I think I probably always wasn't that way, but I've found that fostering relationships is the most rewarding thing, both within my company and within the community and outside. I just love, I love business. I love sharing business, and I love working with people that are like-minded and supporting them and feeling their support. So I think relationships are the key.
I love it. I think can't speak for everyone, but I relate to what you said. In my earlier years, I think that eluded me. Not sure how that happened, but in my later years, I started to tap into that. The more you tap into that, the more fruit you can deliver to everybody else.
It really became apparent to me. And so, I've had at least 4 major downturns in my career. And, the people that answer your phone call, even when the crap hits the fan, they're because of the bonds that you have on them. So I think it's, I love it. And I also think it's the way you do business in good times and bad.
No doubt about it. If there is one thing that is revealing, it is that. I share that with you. That's when you find out who your real friends really are. Yeah. No doubt about it. The next question is one of my personal favorites, Eric. I'm a systems guy, an integrator, and I asked this question for this reason. I love getting other people's, just a wide variety of people's thoughts, right? There's power in diversity. So we hear from many people, lots of people, all kinds of people, especially those who live with abundance, that they're getting so much business that sometimes the chaos that can come with that causes some overwhelm. Would you be willing to share your thoughts or your experience on that topic?
Yeah.
Eric?
Yeah, I've found that it's a matter of prioritizing, to get your own priorities right. And I've created a system from baseball with this is say, before I get up to the plate, I gotta get in the right mindset. I gotta get my personal work done and get my mindset for the day so that I look at life being the pitcher. I don't know what kind of pitch I'm going to get that day. I don't know if I'm going to get a curveball or slider or, a softball. I don't know what I'm going to get. So I get my own mindset going. And then I say, first base to me is family and friends. I got to make sure my family's taken care of, my friends are taken care of first, because if I go to work, go to the nonprofit, do whatever those things out in my world, and my family's not quite right, then I can't really focus on those things. Plus, I can have the greatest job in the world. My family's a mess. It doesn't matter. It's going to be a mess. So first base for me is family and friends. I say, don't go to second base until I've touched first, make sure that's right. And there's some instances where, you got to give and take, but generally then second place is work. And when I go to work, I want to be in the right mindset and know my family's taken care of so I can do 100% focus. And I think if I'm 100% focused, I can move the world. I mean, you give me a lot of business. I want it. I can handle it if I'm focused. Now, if I'm distracted and I can't focus, or I got to go, take care of some other things that I haven't handled, then I think that's where the stress comes in. So, and then third base for me is community service. But I don't want to go to community service until my job's handled, my family's handled, my job's handled, because I'm not much good to somebody, if I'm going to lose my job or if my family's a mess or whatnot. So to me, it's a matter of prioritization, and that's worked for me. I've had times when I've worked a university job and been on a nonprofit board and run, had 3 kids and coach football. And I tell you, it's gotten me through good times and bad. But I got to know my priorities, and that's where I think the key is.
I love it. I love it. So you got me on pins and needles. What's the home run, Eric?
The home run is just doing them all, man. The home run is just,
well, you put them all together,
doing it all, having a life of your dreams in which you have an ideal family, you got great relationships, you got a job you love, you're serving the community, you're giving back, you're taking, nice vacations, you're doing all that. You have everything. That's a home run. Having your bases loaded.
Nice.
That's a grand slam. That's a grand slam if you can have your bases loaded.
There you go. The integrity of all of that, the mechanical integrity of all that. I love that. That is a great analogy. That's one of the better analogies I have heard, without doubt. And I love that you said, like, one of the primary words that you said was priorities. Because I think when we're in this space, many of us come to realize that it's energy and priorities is what, like, those are the really powerful things, right? Some of us realize that, some of us a little bit harder to realize that. And then I love how you use the bases to formulate what your principles are, right? What your values are, like that really important stuff to you. And that might vary from people, but I love that analogy: family and friends and business. And then, just really putting all that together, that's a beautiful thing. And it really needs to be in that order too. If you do all the community service and all the charity events, but you're not handling the business side, and you've got no money coming in, and the family and friends are falling apart, then really your priorities are out of order. So I think then you have a different circumstance. So
the other thing I think it is as long as you're got integrity, people would rather work with somebody that's busy. I mean, you want to get into the guy that's got the business. So it can actually help you to be busy. You don't have to return every phone call that minute, or answer every text that second. Being a little busy.
Say it again.
Being a little busy is attractive. I mean, think about dating. Who do you want to date? So it's a similar thing. So it's okay to be busy if you can prioritize and handle it. And, I think. I enjoy being busy too.
Agreed. And to illustrate that even just a little bit more, I talk about principles and values all the time, and those of us who've been around like yourself understand the importance of those. I actually had a value a couple of years back, the value alacrity, which is not a very common word. And what that meant was I wanted to get back to everybody like immediately. Oops. That's all I can say. And I share that to illustrate what you're saying. Sometimes, I mean, first of all, getting back to everybody instantly is probably not a good way to go in the world we live in. You don't want to wait too long. There's a reasonable business-minded amount of time. But wow, I really made it hard for myself. So I literally had to root out that value and replace it with something a little more reasonable, a little more lifestyle friendly, a little more and it's worked really well ever since. So just highlighting, showcasing what you're saying, sometimes if you're a little bit unavailable, you're available, but not available at any moment's instant, that illustrates,
Mhm.
hey, I got business.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
good point. I love it. I love it. Eric, here's another fun question. Who successful, like yourself, of course, ought to be on the Unlimited Wisdom podcast?
Well, I can think of two guys that have quite a bit of wisdom in my industry, in the real estate industry, and that enjoy sharing it. That might be really great. One would be Eric Thompson with the Windermere Group, Fort Collins, and then the other would be Aaron Hendren with EXP Realty in north of Seattle. Both of them are just, they're on their game with this kind of mindset work, and they enjoy sharing it. So there's two guys I can
Love it.
think of.
Illustrating what you said already once. Like-minded people. I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
I love
yeah.
it. Eric, let's get to the crux of this. I know you have lots of wisdom to share, the many experiences, variety of different industries and whatnot. And I know it may be challenging to share just one. What piece of wisdom would you be willing to share with other business owners?
That my big thing is that mindfulness is an all the time thing. I think in business, often we get trapped in that we don't have time. We're too busy making money. We'll do that when we make it. We'll start doing those things. In my experience, that you can become more focused, have less stress, do more business. It's counterintuitive. I also, in that same realm, I mean, I see so much business come from service on nonprofit boards, not the reason to do them. But I meet so many other givers and so many great people at a different level than cold calling. I've never been a great cold caller, and I just think it's a warm, it's a relationship builder, and you make a big difference. So I think mindfulness, bring it into your business. We have the vision statement here at LC Real Estate Group, mindfully creating community, and it just empowers people. Really does, and people do more business and have less stress, and have more better relationships with their family. So my one tip was, don't wait. Be happy, be mindful now, and when the success comes, you'll be able to handle it. Because experience tells me is normally if we wait, what we want is just more things. If we wait to have those, when we just say, oh, a little bigger house or the other condo or this will make me happy. Got to flip that around a little bit and be happy first. People want to talk to happy people. People want to talk to people that make them feel good, that are grateful. So be those things, and you'll be happier and you'll get more business.
So true. Good points in there. Really solid ones. That sometimes elude people. I mean, if you whether it's a sales call or not, if you leave somebody with an awful feeling by the time they get off the phone or a Zoom call, I mean,
Yeah.
what do you expect them to want to jump on another call with you anytime soon?
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like
Yeah.
a simple point, but it's one that I'm not sure most people or many people are actually tuning into that on a regular basis. Like, what feeling are you leaving your people with when you leave? And that's a great point in and of itself. You tapped into focus. I paraphrase a little bit. Concentration is a
Yeah.
very
Absolutely.
powerful force in the world,
It's
and
mindfulness.
yet exactly, and yet there's so many forces against that too. It's really easy
Yeah.
to chase shiny objects nowadays. So focus, concentration, energy, all those things. Eric, what I'm really curious about, because I know you're seasoned with this mindfulness, for the people watching or listening who are less familiar with mindfulness, you've spoken into some of the benefits. Can you speak into maybe some of the beginning stages or where a person might start with
Yeah.
mindfulness rather than the benefits?
Yeah.
If I didn't know anything about it, where might I look?
Yeah. Look at something as simple as your breath. Just start noticing your breathing. You just start noticing your breath coming in and out of your body. Notice it when you're driving, notice it when you're sitting in a meeting or just sit in a chair. I mean, it can be formal meditation. It can be just watching and just starting to pay attention to something that you choose to pay attention to. I think mindfulness is my mind is full of something. If it's a tree, if it's another person that I'm with or a client or whatnot, can I learn to be with something to the exclusion of other things? it's my family or a client or whatever in it. And the gap that I talk about and living in the gap is the gap when one thought stops before another one begins. We have some 6,000 thoughts a day. That's where stress and anxiety live. Peace and joy live in between those thoughts. So if we can start paying attention to the breath, it's a little ironic or maybe not intuitive, but when we pay attention to something else, thoughts calm down and those spaces start to appear. Now, time in nature is another way. Most people have something they love to do. It might be fishing, might be hiking, some gardening, but those times in nature are mindful. That's an antidote to the stress and those things that we have. So that's a great way. I mean, for busy city folks in business, we don't spend a lot of time in nature. So you might have to come up with some other activities. For me, my entry was yoga, and then some meditation. And I love hiking and doing those kind of things. I love golfing, but time in nature can be just great for it.
Love it. Important one for this guy. I got to be in the water, diving, snorkeling, something in the mountains somewhere, grounding.
Scuba diving, I love. Yeah, it's great. It's great. Just kind
We'll
of
go.
kind of
We'll set it up.
Freeze.
Let's go.
It freezes a little bit. You're just present when I'm scuba diving. I'm just present. Yeah.
Nice. That's why I like it. Great point, because that's precisely why I like it. That's why I like motorcycle riding too. Is you're present. You don't have a lot to focus on except for yourself and safety and like you're focused. There's pure concentration and freedom. Same thing when you're diving, there's a whole nother world down there. So you got to be present. You got to be paying attention. You got to concentrate and enjoy.
I like to go fast with things, driving, whatnot. And a lot of times I realize about myself is because I have to be present. I have to be paying attention. I can't be doing 6 different things and doing that. So I just know that about myself. So I pay attention to that. I'm
with you 100% that way. I'm curious. I want to dive in. I have one more question about this. This is great, Eric. Thank you so much. This is really powerful stuff. You talk about minding the gap, and what I understood you say was there's a gap between the thought and another thought. Is that correct? Is that what you described?
Well, hopefully, that's what our goal is, to have some of those spaces. That's spaciousness. That's joy. There isn't always. Sometimes we just so mungled up. There's just thought on top of another. And we think that our thoughts are really who we are. My experience is that's not who I am. I have thoughts, and if I can come from there, then I can find some peace, and they calm down a little bit.
I love it. So you are the master of your thoughts.
Well, I can't claim to have mastered anything, Brad, other than, I believe mastery is getting on the path, and I'm on the path because I'm crazy. So, and I need a few things because I'm wound up. So I need a few things. So for me, getting on the path and working on it and noticing when I'm present and noticing when I'm not is the practice. And I'm not present all the time, but I'm more and more able to notice when I'm not, and more able to listen to my wife when she's telling me I'm not, and coming back and saying, okay, well, let me try listening again. Let me try this again.
So I hear you saying, I'm sorry, say
it's a journey and a process. It's something we've trained a long time not to be present. And I don't think it's overnight phenomenon that all of a sudden, oh gosh, I'm instantly enlightened. That hasn't been my journey over 30 years. My journey is like being dragged from a bumper of a car, that I constantly, but having those periods of time when I look at it, go, gosh, this is awesome. I just want to feel like this. And I want to be able to bring that, like I get that snow skiing. I like to bring that into the office. Can I have some of those times at work? When I just feel like I'm in flow and I'm having that, I love to work, and I want it to be joyful.
Love it. I love it. I love that you mentioned flow too. I think some people, hopefully not too many people, hopefully not you listening and watching, you get confused about this gap between the thoughts and what that is. And there's different schools, and there's so many different things that people say. It's silence, it's this, it's that. And I heard you say it's joy. And I mean, there's a lot of things it can be. I think I'm not the expert. Maybe you are, but I think we determining what it is for you is part of the journey, part of the path. The other thing is what I
Absolutely.
heard you say, like underneath what you said is that you can determine the cycle, right? So, for some people, these cycles of energy or these cycles of speed or cycles of anxiety, maybe they are for,
Mhm.
if it's maybe it's for you listening or watching, or maybe it's not. But what are those cycles and how do we either expand them or narrow them? And that's what I understand of what is living in the gap for you.
Yeah,
Is that does that sound about
pretty
right?
close. It sounds nice. Yeah, I like it.
I love it. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate this. This is a very important, it's a noble mission, like I said in the beginning. And, it's one that some people just resist, to be honest. I know I resisted it for many, many years. And I used to say things like, that's, that's for someone else. And I
Yeah,
was that guy till
yeah,
I came around to it. So I love connecting with someone like yourself who is really focused on this, who's concentrated on this, who's delivering this message that is worthy and is delivering results. It's delivering results for
yeah.
people. So it's
Not
a great
not in
mission.
lieu of, not in lieu of business. It'll make your business better. That's my
Absolutely love it.
experience. Yeah,
I love it.
awesome.
Before I go to the last question, which I ask every guest, would you be willing to share? Because I know you've been really super humble on this call, Eric. And so draw a little bit of that out for like, what kind of missions are you working on? What kind of like vision? What's your vision with this? How are you helping businesses? Like, what's
Yeah,
your current campaign initiatives? Would you be willing to share a little bit more
yeah.
specifically?
We have a mindful leadership program where we train leaders, we train business people to come in and go through and learn some of these principles in their
Mhm.
personal and professional lives and how to do that. And also, if they choose to, how to incorporate it in their companies, to do that and how to, and I say you need to, if you're the CEO or top person, you need to get your own thing going first before you can really share. So you get your own thing going and then they can share and it can make a tremendous difference for businesses. So that's a big thing. I've got a book coming out called Profit with Presence, that 12 Pillars of Mindful Leadership, that will be it's available pre-sale on Amazon. It's coming out in March of next year. It'll be delivered to shelves, but that's so that you can take that journey on yourself, and has some means there to get started and do those things. We also have free resources on our website. If you want to learn mindfulness, a mindful movement, if you want to learn to meditate or a body scan, there's a list of books you could read to get started, and that's livinginthegap.org/free resources. There's some resources there. Really is to promote this. The world's in a spot, I think, and I think the business community is the one that's going to lead us out of it. That's my bet. That the business community is always the one that takes the lead. Schumpeter said in 1942, creative destruction. Business is creative destruction. Look what we did with the internet. Came out in the mid 90s. Just look at it's transformed. Business is just, with all of its ills too. But we got to do that. But I think if business could adopt some of these practices, because if you learn it at work, you bring it home, you institute it with your family. You go to the school game, you institute on the team. You go to the Cub Scouts, it's there. You go to church, it's there. You go to the school board. I just think business is the melting pot. So that's what I've experienced, and hope to do a little bit while I'm left here on this planet to help, shift the world to a better spot. So, I'm sure I
Love
won't
it.
get all the way there in this life, but I'm going to do what I can while I can.
Hey, some influence and impact. That's what we can do, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I love everything you shared. I mean, entrepreneurs rule the world. You heard it here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. And
90% of businesses,
let's
it's
be
it's
worthy of it. Let's make
it's
it
an
better.
important.
We can make money and make it better. I
I
believe.
love it. And it doesn't have to be either or. It's
Yeah, it
and you
doesn't.
heard him.
It doesn't. Absolutely does. In fact, I say affluence increases influence. Why can we make such a difference? We have influence. We have the platform and we have the resources. We blended it together, with a common voice, we could get through. Well, and we will get through this. South Africa in apartheid, the business community came through and got them through that. The business
Mm.
community said, listen, it's enough. Figure this out. We want to make some money. They figured it out, not with perfection, not without problems, not everybody happy. You got to compromise. You move forward. What's the right thing for business, and figure the rest out in your personal life. That's my belief.
With you all the way. I love it. Affluence creates influence, and
Yeah,
impact.
absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
great. Eric, I can tell already from the theme of what we talked about that you subscribed to the notion that we work to live and not live to work. And with that in mind, what's the most fun vacation you've ever had? Would you be willing to share?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I've been all over the world several times and done a lot of things. And my favorite thing, every year except one year in the pandemic, we go back to a little place where I grew up in Maine on a cottage on a lake where my family is. My kids went there every summer of their lives. We go back there this year. My wife and I went back there for a couple of months. Normally it was a little shorter than that when I'm, more active in my real estate business. My family's there. My kids get to know their cousins. I water ski every day. They get to be in the outdoor and the adventure. We run a chainsaw and tractors and do stuff that in suburban America we don't get to do anymore. And the relationships, the family that we get to see. It's I still go golfing with high school buddies back there. So that's my favorite. If you don't know one thing I do, that's a for sure. I love it. Find some place to connect and be with your family and friends.
I love it.
If you
There's no
can.
place like going back home.
No, there isn't. For me, there
I
isn't.
love
I think it's awesome.
family and friends. You've said it. There's been a theme here. That's
Well, in the
theme,
end,
right?
in the end, that's what you have. No matter all your money and all your resources and everything else, in the end, my experience, and I'm getting closer to the end than I was yesterday. That's what I find of value. Is those relationships that I've gained and people that help me and I help them, and so I think fostering those is number one.
Love it. I love everything you shared. Family and friends, relationships and business and community and influence and impact and all of the above.
It's a home
Grand
run,
slam.
Brad. It's a home run.
It's a home run. I love it. Eric, when somebody watches this and they listen to it and they want to reach out because they just say, I have to reach out to that guy, Eric, and learn more about living in the gap. What's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Our website, livinginthegap.org, has all of our events, has how you get at the book if you want it, has free resources. You can or contact us. There's a place to contact us. It's all livinginthegap.org. It's a nonprofit, and we're here to serve you.
I love it. Eric, thank you so much. I know you took a chunk out of your day. You could be
my pleasure,
looking for prospecting for clients or doing something else, but you're here serving. And so I appreciate that about you and I celebrate you. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, Brett.
This is Brad A. Milford with the Unlimited Business Wisdom Podcast, where leaders, seasoned entrepreneurs, and business owners share their wisdom. If you're looking for more on leadership, sales, marketing, or operations to drive team development, higher quality, and high-level sustainable profits, we encourage you to join the Built for Brilliance community on Facebook or reach out to us about one of our mastermind groups, coaching or consulting, or even fractional COO services. You can reach us at buildbrilliance.net/contact. We thank you for listening, for sharing the show, and appreciate your rating and reviews, as this makes more shows possible. Thanks for joining us.